I don't know if anybody's talking, but looks like Sarah, you're on mute.
I can hear you.
Okay, cool.
Okay, can you hear me?
Mhm.
Okay. Perfect. So I'll move this, I'll press escape. Okay, great. So let me just do a little bit. So everybody's cameras are on, because then later on it's good after you even see the setup. What I'd like you to do, Suman and Jonathan, is to see the class. Besides, at the University of Miami, probably is rated in one of the best looking student body. Besides that, they're also very energetic and smart. So besides just good luck, so you'll get to see everybody as well there. So I just want to make sure I always have it. Just so we know, we have personal AI. We're having their team come in, the CEO and Jonathan. Your role is strategy, or what is
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
okay, and also whatever they give you in a up and coming company, huh?
Exactly.
It's like when you see the owner of a restaurant, you see them sweeping the floor, right? I always can tell who the owner of a restaurant is. Everybody's hanging around and looking at their phone except for the owner and the people invited. Okay, so I've put we had last time we met, we had the Wix representative come in. I've uploaded her PowerPoints for you. I put in what's due section, what we have done there, and on the readings and the quizzes that you need to do. And on Monday, I'll spend time with you talking more in depth with the project. But right now, we're honored and we're delighted to have Suman and Jonathan for Personal AI come and talk about their great platform. And what we've decided to do based on their generosity is they've also established an academic relationship with us where they're going to upgrade us to their premium version as well. And what our goal is to give them feedback into how they can also not only improve their product, but think about creative ways for uses for their product. And what I've asked them to do is give us a hands-on workshop. And at the end, we'll all have our personal AI, and we'll already start with having an assignment, and we'll continue with the assignment for the next couple of weeks in the semester. Okay, so Suman, since we're recording, we're live on YouTube, and I'll have you introduce yourselves, give us a little bit background on what you have. Maybe in the beginning, if you want to stop sharing your screen and everybody can turn on their cameras and you can get a view of what what this motley crew is, and everybody will turn on their camera so you can see. I could see in general, these are students from the business school and various majors, mostly in business. A good portion are from finance, but they're also in entrepreneurship and accounting, economics, as well as marketing. So all the gamut of the business school, and they can basically look at it as business ideas with you. And then I have Mackenzie and Luca and Megan and Gabrielle and Viti. They'll turn on their cameras as well to see you and getting the good lighting there.
Cool. Sounds good. How is everyone?
We're excited to see what you got in store for us.
Awesome, awesome. Hey, we are gonna have some fun. Sarah asked us to put together this workshop. So we're gonna talk a little bit about like macro AI, just generally where the space is, and hopefully you'll walk away with your baby AIs today. But quickly, my background, I'm an engineer. I was born in India, came to US almost 20 years ago. I have a robotics master's degree as well as I have a second master's in MBA. And then over the past 10 years, I've been working on creating different companies and businesses as well. So previous company is called Ira. It was also an AI plus AR company for people who are blind and low vision. In fact, as of today, pretty much from Starbucks to Disney to all the airports and including Miami City is providing Ira as an accommodation for people who are blind and low vision. This company is Personal AI. This is about representing you, an individual in a AI model that is grounded in their facts, in their opinions. We'll talk all about it later today. Yeah, I wanted to quickly introduce myself, and I'm super excited. I'm super passionate about education. As you can see, I have 2 master's degrees, spent 26 years in the classroom. So it's good to be talking to students and going to the universities anytime. So yeah, thank you for having me.
And then later on, we can invite you to come down. If you'd like, you can go to the beach and come down to Miami. Great in January.
I was in Miami for the
semester.
conference.
We're in the Miami of California.
What?
We're in the Miami of California.
Oh, you're in San Diego. That's nice.
So you
too.
can all
We're a
visit
little more.
us. Yeah.
But I was there in Miami Tech Week for Miami Tech Week last year. So I probably
Oh, okay. So whenever you always have an open invitation to visit us. And then we can even have if you'd like, we can do a hybrid type of thing where we can do it.
I'll give a quick background. I spent probably half as long as Suman in school, but ended up on Wall Street. Ended up on Wall Street nonetheless. I was at LionTree doing M&A in media. So I did the CBS Viacom deal, AT&T Time Warner, and a bunch of gaming deals, sold a company to Amazon, one to Netflix. So that was my past life, kind of my first position, and then joined this company as head of strategy about a year and a half ago.
Welcome.
Cool.
I would actually love to see quickly before we dive in. Can you all, like anyone who has used any kind of AI in the last year, like I'm wondering if it's all of you or if it's like half.
And when you say AI, what do you mean?
Like any tool that is obviously, wait, Suman, can you kill that for a minute? I want to see people. Any tool that is like explicitly AI. So not like Google Photos or like autocorrect on iPhone, but like some kind of model that you're interacting with. Okay, like thumbs up or something.
Okay, pretty cool.
Awesome. Thank you.
And by the way, Sarah and John, if you want to see faces, click on participant. You can still like put in a different view, and then you can still see faces. That's how I do it. Okay, one more thumbs up. Everybody join the lounge. Let me see. So I got Abigail, Nicholas, Dimitri, Dylan, James, Jared. Good. Everybody is in the lounge. So if you don't mind.
As everybody who hasn't been in the so what do we have here? We basically then have 32. So it's basically 29 students.
Oh,
I have 16 students.
Okay.
So anyone who is not in the lounge in Personal AI, go to the link that I just put in the chat and do the sign up, and we'll see you in the app.
For the introduction itself, like make your introduction real. Because we will add that to the memory later on when we spin up your baby AI.
So is everybody able to come into your personal lounge? Is it become private or it's available? Could it be?
It is public, available.
Okay, it is public.
Yep. So if you're already on your computers, once you sign up, you can simply follow the lounge URL, which says -miami-class-2. Once you are in there, it's essentially like a group chat. Later on, we will turn on my AI in there to kind of have a little bit more fun with it. But for now, just for the setup reasons and get this behind us, you can go ahead and say hello and introduce yourself in that lounge. So, I'm Nicholas. I'm so-and-so, and please send that message in. If you do have any problems joining the lounge, put that in the chat. We'll take 2 to 3 minutes for this, and then we'll start the class. Michaela, that's awesome. Write something maybe more to it so that later on we'll use our own AI to do that introduction. Yes, Lauren. Michaela, you are the first. That's cool. Very nice.
Is everybody clear? If anyone's confused or not paying attention, you can DM me in Zoom and I'll tell you what to do.
No, it says lounge is private.
Yeah.
All right, it's public now.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah. Okay, cool. It's public. It should be public now. Yeah, I see people coming in now. Cool.
Yeah, because it seemed to be private for me too.
So far, I've seen like nobody from Florida out of any of these classes.
That's why they all come down.
Yeah.
Okay, I see people coming in. Hey, Ella, Abby, Beatrice. Those are some good introductions because next time when we come back, do the AI is going to be a little bit fun. Chicago suburbs. I was in Peoria, Illinois for almost 2 years at Caterpillar. So I don't know what suburbs that will be, but maybe we always consider Peoria, Illinois as Chicago suburbs. Okay, cool. So I think we're all coming in. That's pretty cool. You can also use this chat for any questions or lounges as we go through the presentation, but we'll come back to this lounge 10-15 minutes into the presentations, and we'll tell you what exactly is going on. So let's go ahead and begin. Already, a lot of you already have experienced ChatGPT and OpenAI. So you can go ahead and finish introductions. That's fine. You can multitask meanwhile. So our goal for today is to walk away with a baby AI of ourselves. We'll tell you what it means as well. So just like to level set from a macro situation point, if you are still wondering, like if you need AI or if you don't need AI or if you are fighting AI, the way to think about it is like AI is nothing but another next, evolution of the technology that we all have been used to, right? We've seen the televisions, we've seen the computers, we've seen the personal computers and smartphones. And over a period of time, we have used these techniques for human to human communication as well as communicating with the businesses, right? So I'm old enough that I saw through the Internet 2.0, which let's just say last 2 decades, and it was all about point and click interactions with your keyboard and with your mouse. So I would imagine the AI would be the next medium for the next generation of interactions. Because why? I think it's so good that you can now have like meaningful conversations. We probably don't need a mouse or a keyboard to be able to do that. The one way I would think about it is, over a period of time, we start having these personal devices, right? From your phone to a personal email address, a personal computer, or even, our apps. And we use these apps to communicate with people, to email somebody else. In most cases, it revolves around this idea of communication and being able to save time and removing these barriers, not only from human to human, but also human to business. And we think that every individual person, not only with their personal email or a personal computer or a personal mobile phone, but they will also have a personal AI that will understand who they are as a person. It will start having, you represent in the internet world without losing your, identity on corely who you are. So I think, generally thinking about it, AI will be the next medium. A lot of people have raised hands in terms of who interacted with the AI. So we'll kind of go through some primers on the generic systems, what AI can do and the architecture, and then just generally, how personal AI kind of differentiates between what exists out there in the world. What AI can do, yes, of course, it can predict an answer. It can predict a response as well. Today, we'll be dealing a lot with like language related models as of today. It can think, you can think about like, generating ideas as well and predict certain behaviors based on what you may know in the past. What it cannot do is, there's like a lot of conversations about like AI making decisions for you. I would think about it as like AI will, provide you or speed up your process of making a decision, but obviously it won't make, magical decisions for you. Right now, the models are also not sophisticated enough to understand and do complex mathematics. So I wouldn't rely on the models for the math in itself. And specifically taking actions, no, it cannot take actions unless and until you program it to do so. So a general AI system, the way I would think about from a super high level basic understanding is the following, right? Obviously, everything starts with the data. And the data, you can imagine the data could be, a specific set of data. It could be internet of data. So that's basically all the public information that is available on the internet. Or it could be an organization specific data, such as, University of Miami or any specific corporation or a company. Or it could be a specific domain, such as finance, healthcare, marketing. Or it could be a topic such as diversity, such as, inclusion or specific rights. Or it could be a person. So our focus, obviously, as personal AI, is focusing on the individual as a person. So the data, the next obvious thing is the model. The model can be split into, many different categories, such as language models, audio models, or visual models. For this specific class and conversation today, we'll be focusing on the language models. And then, mostly I believe like non-tech is where you are, but API is nothing but an interface for input-output where you can build apps on top of it. So if, since you raised the hands for OpenAI, ChatGPT, you probably use the chat interface or apps interface that is probably built on top of this API that is probably, communicating with a pre-trained model that is probably trained on some sort of the data, right? So you can think about this like more as a hierarchical structure. And finally, there's a lot of conversations around that is happening on the agents as well. For me, agents is simply just a bot, right? That takes an automated task.
Can
Now
I
apply
just
that
interrupt you
concept.
for a second? Suman, if you can go back to that prior slide. So when you see here, this is interesting, and the data you can see from broad to very specific, from the internet to the organization to domain, topic, and person. And then on automated tasks on those agents, is your system also part of that automated task, or does your system then work with agents? Do you consider your personal AI that personal AI could do those automated tasks?
Yeah, so personal AI is everything in terms of the infrastructure. So next few slides, I'll basically flash different kinds of model. But yes, you can build agents on top of personal AI as well.
Right, so you could then have it actually repetitive tasks. You could actually have it, your daily repetitive tasks, you could actually have it do for you.
Absolutely. Yep. So one such example, famous one, is OpenAI. So the way to think about OpenAI is it's trained on the Internet of Data, and they have multiple different versions of the model. Those are like mostly pre-trained model. They do have API that businesses kind of build on top of, but obviously ChatGPT is built on top of their own API. And agents, there are a whole bunch of plugins, ChatGPT plugins and Zapier related tools that you can use for creating these bots and tasks or agents, right? Inflection AI is another one, which is very much focused on the conversational and empathy for people with loneliness to have conversations with an AI, right? Over in here, the apps, they call it HeyPi, and then you can also use a WhatsApp phone number as a potential agent, doing specific tasks, which is having conversation with people. With personal AI, which is us, our focus is on the data is the personal data and conversations. In other words, it may not be the data that is publicly available, right? And in this case, it's also a model and data that is trained by the individual people in itself. The company does not, pre-train the model. The model approach for us, we call it personal language model. I will talk a little bit more about it in a second, but these are small language models that is trained on the personal data. Yes, we do have an API that is input-output. And yes, there are apps, which is, you join the launch, that is our personal AI applications, to not only train your AI, but also use your AI. And yes, so you can use, Zapier, or you can use other tools to take your AI to other places or automate, specific related tasks that, using that intelligence from your own personal AI model. So what to be aware of is, specifically who owns the data and who owns the model. In the examples that we have taken, we have seen most of the pre-trained models is owned by big tech. So Microsoft and OpenAI has their models, and a whole number of different companies has large language models that they own. And in most cases, for the consumer specifically, you are using those models as a service. You're probably asking questions and getting the information back, and you are using, maybe getting information faster instead of using Google search. In our case, you own the data, the model will be yours, and our goal is to not create a pre-trained model as much as create a model of every person that they can use, and it's private to you. It's one of the other issues that exists out there in the industry is the data attribution. Because there are celebrity data, there is famous people data that is already part of the public corpus, and it is already indexed by OpenAI or large language model. When you're trying to write like somebody, there is not proper association or credit back to what kind of whose data is contributed to what. So I think that is something to be aware of, which we also solve for. So to summarize this whole thing, right? We all are familiar with having conversations with OpenAI, ChatGPT, or large language models, or many different models that exist out there. They're all large language models. It's all based on pre-training on the public data corpus and aggregation of the data that could be useful for many different use cases to, extract and recall and have conversations with the internet. Our focus is on creating personal language model. It kind of complements very well with large language model. In this scenario, every one of us will have our own model that is fundamentally trained on our own memory that will work in favor of us. So that's the personal language model, which is, the other side of the equation.
So can I ask you a question here, then, Suman? So on the left side, that LLM, which stands for the large language model, then it's pre-trained, and so the user can, are you saying then that the user cannot train the data? It's done by whoever owns that model, but they may be taking some of my information and training it, but it's not going to be direct? Is that
Yeah,
what you
correct.
would
In
say?
most cases, it's the aggregation of the data, right? For example, when Meta or Facebook is training their AI model, it is likely based on all of our social media content that we ever posted on Facebook or WhatsApp conversations, right? It's normally based on aggregates of the data. Same thing with Google, or same thing with Microsoft. The good analogy I could give is, I mean, you are all super young, but during my times, I grew up with mainframes. Like, mainframes of this huge computer where you had to go to a university, or you got to go to government or somewhere to be able to share the data. Share the mainframe computer. And later on, we all have exposed or gotten access to the personal computer, right, which lives at our home, right? So think about personal AI is something that is of yours, and large language model is mostly like mainframe, where people can share the model for many different like common shared use cases. Cool. So the memory could be pretty much any of your data, like all these communications that you may have, your knowledge, your facts, your opinions over a period of time. We talked about the language model. It's a small model, so it's very cost effective. Since, I wouldn't go into the technical detail, but it scales very well for billions of people into the future. We cannot have, a mainframe for every person. Developers can actually build on top of personal language models for their businesses, and potentially also monetize use this as a new communication medium for their businesses as well. We do have our own apps that you will be part of, and we'll talk about a lot about it. And finally, these agents, right, that can do automated tasks, many different tasks, such as even writing emails and text messages or Facebook Messenger, et cetera, et cetera. So that's kind of the summary of it. It's a digital version of you. The most interesting thing for me is, over a period of time, we had these personal numbers and personal websites. We have social profiles that is about us, right? Now it is the time to actually have an AI model that is of us, that knows everything, about me, all my facts, all my knowledge, all my preferences, right? Which will then help me to, communicate out, either it be, writing or reading or processing or brainstorming and all those different things. So think about it as like a second you, except that, it's your model.
But I can make that second you, I can differentiate, for instance, my work persona versus my personal persona, right? So I don't have to, it's just like when they say you're sharing too much, right? The idea is I don't always want to be sharing with everyone. I want to have some control over it.
Totally. She's talking about some of the concepts of personas. Like, think about your life. Your social life is likely different from what you share with your friends, what you share with, with people who are interviewing you or job seekers. So depending on what persona you would want, you can essentially have specific memory for each of the personas. The use cases are many, but we will focus primarily on the communications today. Which is, as people like ask you questions or getting to know you or chatting with you, your AI will automatically draft those responses, assuming it knows about you, right? So if somebody, the scenario could be, oh geez, like I have to answer the same question over and over again. Well, you don't have to if you have your personal AI. the exercise today that we are going to do is for like standing in for the interviews, right? Because yes, today, it will take some time, but eventually interviewers may not be just asking for resumes or LinkedIn profiles anymore. They will likely be asking for, can I interview your AI, right? So our goal for today would be, interviewing, like creating an AI for each of us where recruiters can actually interview our AI to get to know who you are as a person. So that is the process we'll go through today. But the AI itself involves, yes, the training. One of the key things that you may have interacted with ChatGPT or OpenAI is you are a user. In this case, you are actually building your own model, which is, in your control. So that's like one of the fundamental differences. And yes, it does involve a little bit of testing and understanding how your model is performing based on what information put in, what memory you put in, and then, for what purpose. I assume you may have learned or used this idea of the prompts. You can use that pretty much with personal language model as well, such as, oh, I have a specific thought for a specific subject, but I would want to change that or use that information to write in a narrative format, or I have an idea and I would want to make a story out of it. You can think about all those things, except that it is grounded within your memory. So these are some examples of how you could expect the output to be. Today's exercise will focus more on this idea of like automated conversations, specifically around interviews. So first exercise, what we would do is you all can actually interview me for around 5 minutes. You can talk to me about anything in the realm of personal AI. And obviously, if you talk to me about, I don't know, topics that are unrelated to me, such as biochemistry, then I wouldn't know. So I would ask you to watch out for something called a personal scores whenever my AI is responding or having this conversation directly with you. If it is less than 40 or 45%, it's not actually me, but I would want you to experience what it means to be personal and what it means to be general. And we'll do this for 5 minutes, because after this, the second goal would be to train your own AI so that we can interview you. And there will be some time, but we will learn about how to get that memory in as part of this workshop and as part of the exercise. But for now, let's begin with taking 5 minutes. And the goal in here is having conversations with Suman AI. And you can ask me about anything, and I will be watching what you ask me. And that could be a good indication of what your target state could be with your own personal AI that knows, you more.
So what we want is everyone who is in the class today to go and interview you, Suman, but they're not going to interview you Suman, but your AI. Is that the case? And we'll see how they respond and how accurately, rather than during your whole busy day, Suman, if you answered every question that anybody asked you in your new company, you could never do any work.
That's right. It's not just about, questions as well. It's also about like brainstorming. It's also about having conversations, parallelly scaling myself. I see Dimitri.
Do you want to share your screen? Can you share your screen so we can see what everybody is? So this is a requirement for today's class. Since we're required, we can see this, is that everyone has to ask then Suman's personal AI a question. So maybe you can share your screen, Suman.
Yeah, I can. Like once people
once we get it populated. Right.
Yeah. I see people coming in. So within a minute or two, then I will share my view, so that way people understand,
Right. So when they're asking you questions on this, we can see this. Yeah. So when did you start this company, Suman?
Sarah, you can ask my AI.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to ask your personal AI. That's what I'm going to say.
No, I was just kidding. 4 years ago. Yeah, 3 to 4 years.
Yeah, but I'm just saying it makes sense.
2020. While OpenAI was building large language models, we've been building personal language model, and it is our time to tell people and give them the control of these models. Yeah, Michaela is always on the top. You can truly have like a conversation. Don't think about a question and answer. It's just like a full-blown conversation.
Yeah, converse with it rather than.
Since I stopped sharing that other screen, you can also find me in the Discover tab if you're in the app, if you didn't get a chance to scan it. And meanwhile, I will share. You can go for 2 to 3 more minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested what Michaela said here. Okay, so that's a good 4 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
What do y'all think? Any interesting observations that you want to share? You can put in the chat if you don't want to talk.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think, Dimitri?
I thought it was pretty interesting. I just had a quick question about, so you were talking about the percentage of like if it's under 50%, it's not as personal. Where is that answer being generated from? Is that like a separate data set or?
Very good question. So let's go open one of these. When it says 50% personal, that means it's likely using the thoughts that I have within my memory to construct that response, right? Anything like less than 35% is all general, and that's where we consult large language model to give a general response, so that way the experience is much better. One thing I can choose to do is, depending on who that person is, I can set a specific threshold so that way I don't give away impersonal responses in these conversations. So if you ask me about something that is totally unrelated to what I do, the scores will be like low. So let's see maybe a couple of examples. And this is all correct, right? Like 47% 2020. I was just mentioning. Yeah, call Annie. Yeah. No, it actually did not mirror another product in the marketplace. There may be like some similarities. I guess now I'm basically talking about like my AI, but our focus is more focused on like building like personal brands, and we've been building this for 3 years, 3 years right now. And my original inspiration was more about being able to replicate and have a conversational conversation with a lost mentor of mine. His name is Larry Bach, both intellectually as well as emotionally, because I learned a ton from him. So that was my initial motivation, and I joined Sharon Zong to build this company. So back to the personal AI question. Yeah. So anything that is like north of 40 or 45, generally within the PLM space, means it is very personal to you and it is very accurate. And it has those accuracy scores as well. Make sense? So every person in here, this could be, could be your AI as well. And you can have like other people also have conversations with you via your AI, as well as take you to other places, not just like within the personal AI system. So let's go back.
So when one speaks, when one goes and checks you out in the lounge or discovers you, do they know they're speaking to your persona? Do you state that? When do they know they're speaking to you versus your persona?
Oh,
something there?
Straightforward. So in here, how did you, started this type of business?
Yeah.
And my AI said, let's see. And if I would want to add additional information here,
you want to correct it or you want to add something, right?
Yeah. So this is human message, right?
Right.
And you can see AI has a separate, like, avatar and image and identity and a different representation.
Okay.
This is the human me.
Okay. So you'll be able to differentiate because.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. And it's also sent by autopilot. So there's a clear indication that this is my AI response. One of the other cool things is I can actually choose to edit a particular message. When I edit and then send it, it goes into like the reinforcement learning. And that's also a good technique to train your AI, where let's just say you send a question knowing that you don't have any memories, like, hey, tell me about my parents, right? Well, it will have something very general, but you can edit that and then use that to add to memory. Cool.
And what is the difference between your personal, the free version once you get in versus your premium? Do you get extra features, or what can you do with one versus the other? Or are you going to?
Oh, in regards to the plans, it's all about the memory. So
it's just the memory, the amount of memories that you can give. But can you do that autopilot and those generations?
Yes, you can do pretty much everything except that the memory is limited on the free version, which is targeted for consumers on their personalized experiences. And then as you go into premium, you will have unlimited memory, and you will also have access to the API and ability to monetize and things like that.
Right. And I see below here you have audio. Yes. I guess in this case that was generated by the AI, your audio in your voice.
Yes, that's a good observation. It's I did not incorporate that in the demo, but I can go ahead and play it if you guys are interested.
Because that's an interesting part, because it's combining that voice and text, I think, is really where the future is.
Yeah, sure. I can play this real quickly. That's great news. Personal AI has been able to secure $8.4 million in funding. This investment will help us continue our mission of enhancing people's lives through personalized. So technically, people can talk to me, and the podcast interviews can completely be offloaded to my AI. And in fact, there will be a few podcasts that was completely done, people talking to my AI about personal AI and all things. So it's pretty cool. And you will see a little bit of more British accent. So in this scenario, I'm actually trying to train myself to be more to my AI voice than the other way around. So I want my brain with my AI voice.
For English, it's great for the accent reduction program. You could have basically
it is totally for me because I hear my voice all the time.
Yes.
So
if somebody we have voice, but how we're doing it, we won't be able to train our voices, or will we?
Not at this time. So this is beta
Okay.
feature that is available for some of our beta customers.
Okay,
But let's
but
just
that's where you're
say,
going.
Yeah.
And what do? I do a couple, just like I do in other programs. I do a couple of readings, and then it picks up my voice.
right. It's essentially 2 to 3 minutes of your voice that we will ask you to what do you call, upload, and then we will be able to create your voice responses. I enabled to some of you, EC, Meg, Mackenzie,
Okay.
and Michaela. So if you want to try it out, you can try it out. Or just ask me if you want to try the voice. Do it. So this is a good example, right? I do not have information about salary in my AI, right? So if it doesn't know, then it doesn't make up things.
That's good too, because a lot of times that was the problem, those hallucinations, and it says it in such an authoritative fashion that you would then have to go and figure out what is real and what is not.
Yeah, so we try to contain hallucination, pretty heavily, because everything is grounded in the personal language model. And you can also use these thresholds, personal score thresholds, for it as well.
But if I'm doing Suman, if I'm doing a creative session where we're trying to create a product, and I want it to hallucinate, I want it to be creative, can I tell it you can?
Yeah, so that goes back into these personal scores. So you basically can set to 0%. Like, for example, let me go into my test launch, and I would say, I can get like more creative, right? Like, write a
because sometimes I want to be creative. I don't. That's the beauty. I want it to help me to think outside the box. Because I'm thinking in the box, I want it outside the box, and I want maybe others that don't even know where the box is.
Right. So you can use your own memory, and you can essentially try to get more and more creative, and you can incorporate that within your prompts and conversations as well. The most beautiful thing is, if you do that with ChatGPT, then that's another great one. If you do that with ChatGPT, then it's essentially mostly like general. But if I do it with mine, then it's gonna be,
it will put your personal information in it, not just
puts my personal information in there. Yep. Yep. So here's a good example. And I do have this autopilot launch. My demo is failing pretty bad. Yeah. Go to my autopilot launch. You'll see some of these examples in here. I can essentially use any of the different prompts, compare and contrast like personal language models, and approach to fine-tune models, and then I can turn that into scripts. Okay, there you go. It finally came back. So it gave me a fictional script that makes up a dialogue between Suman Kanagante and Sharon Zong. And given it knows who those people are, it kind of tries to include some of our personalities in there.
So taking from what you've trained it, where usually if you use a ChatGPT, it doesn't take your personal training into account.
That's right. Okay, so let's go back and let's get into the exercise.
Yeah.
How are we doing on time? Okay.
We have 15 minutes.
Okay, so we need to get to the exercise then.
Right.
So the goal in here would be to start training your own background, your own goals, and inspiration, right? So I would call this exercise like personalized interviews, right? Think about a recruiter talking to you, and maybe even for you to kind of narrow down if it is a good job or not. You can enter all the information about your background, about your professional career or aspirations. You can use these hashtags for anchoring a specific memory. It's optional, but I would encourage to do that. Like if you are having specific information about your career, or you're telling about your previous project, then you can, add with the hashtag of career, or goals or skills or food. So we will do this exercise as first memory. So think about what's happening within the personal AI system is that any message that you send anywhere, like we are in that lounge and we introduced ourselves, or if you go to my AI and you send a message, that message can be converted into a memory by clicking the plus button next to the message. So when it goes into the memory, it will be remembered forever. And then you can essentially use your AI to, not only like recall that memory, but use it to construct different responses for you, assuming it knows it. Let's take an example. You can go into my AI, you can add a message into your primary AI or a specific persona or a sub-persona that you have in there, right? If you have multiple different personas, the personas doesn't have knowledge about each other. Think about it as like your social media memory could go into one, your knowledge about everything that you are learning could go into other. There could be a business that you are running, and all the business related facts could be going into other one as well. But all of this will kind of roll up into your primary AI, and this primary AI will know everything. If you are on mobile,
so if I do that, each are separate, but the top of the top knows everyone.
The top knows everything. Yeah. If you are on mobile, you can also do that. You can send a message to your friends in chats. You can send a message in Launch. You can send to your AI as well. And if you swipe right, then it will be added to the memory. So if you use it more like a communication platform, and if you are continuously communicating with each other, anything that you want to be remembered, boop, you swipe right to add it. If it has the data, then it replies with your data. If it doesn't, then it goes to the external scores, but they will all be reflected in your personal score. So if the personal scores is low, but it is important for you to address, then you simply edit that message and then fix it and then add to the memory. So it basically is continuously learning as you grow. And it's also a good way as you learn different techniques in your student life, you can start building your memory, and over a period of time, well, you will have a second you. What else? So we talked about introducing yourself, which we have already done in the Lounge. So for this exercise, what I like you guys to do is you already in the Lounge introduce yourself. And for each of you, next to your own message on your side, you will see a plus button. I won't see it because I'm not Jess, but for yourself, you will see it. And go ahead and add that to your memory. For example, let's say I don't have any message here. You will see something like this, add to memory. So find your message in here and simply go ahead and add to the memory. What is happening in here is when you add to that memory for the first time, your personal language model, a tiny model, will be created for the first time. And the more memories you add to it, the more it will be able to understand who you are and construct. So for this exercise, what you could do is once you add that to your memory, try to now type in, tell about yourself and your background. And you can also give like specific anchors, such as, your background in finance, right? If you are a finance major, and if you want to highlight that. And once you type it in, you will see this AI instruction message, and you can click, draft with my AI. So I will say in robotics. And when you click draft with my AI, yes, it is one single memory, but it technically should use that one memory to create a draft message for you. So if it is already within your memory, you don't have to type it over and over again.
That's nice. So it does do that AI generate like you get in a ChatGPT, right?
Right, except that this is
but it's with your own data, with your own training.
That's right.
So in this, you want them to do this as looking as a job interview of what possibly they would share with in an interview, job interview.
Yeah, it could be more like your professional background. I do have a series of slides to talk about how to prepare your AI for the interview itself. But we are trying to get this first concept, the basics of adding the memory. and being able to use your AI to draft responses on yourself. So if you
About
understand
yourself. So if
what's good.
somebody was asking about yourself,
Yeah,
they could generate it for you.
correct.
So
Questions?
you want everyone to go in and expand what they've said before, and also put it into memory what they've done.
Right. So once you do that, you can go ahead and send it as well. So for example, I just did tell me about yourself and your background in robotics.
Right.
It created that response to me, and I will simply send it.
And then the plus will add it to your memory.
Correct.
So you want everyone to do that now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So everyone who's in the class now, add that to your last response.
Any questions? Is that clear? Are you guys confused? Chat, lounge?
So I just tried to do that and I clicked the plus button within the lounge, but I don't see the same message that I wrote in like my personal AI chat.
Okay, cool. Did you add that to your memory?
I think so.
Let's see, Michaela. Let's see, find your message here.
So I had two. So I did the larger one on the bottom a bit.
Okay, here. And then you can add that to, so you added that to the memory?
You just hit the plus sign?
Yeah, just hit the plus sign. Yep.
Yeah, so I hit the plus sign.
Okay, now you can type in, tell about yourself.
Simon, you have to hit the X. You have to
What I
go
like.
back. Simon, you have to hit the X because
Yeah,
she
I know.
can see that. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you type it in, you will see this instruction here. Michaela?
Okay, so we do that in the lounge. Tell me about yourself. I think I did that in the other chat.
Yeah. You can do that in the other account as well. But when you do this, you can select it and draft in the AI. What we are trying to do is we are basically instructing our AI rather than us typing everything about introduction. We're basically, since we already said once, we added that to the memory already. We are asking our AI, hey, I'm in this new group. Tell about yourself and what I like to play. Right? And then it will draft it for you.
Okay.
And the intention in here is once you understand how this memory is tied to how you are using your AI, then it goes exponentially, right? Like then we can expand our memory to a greater degree. Let's see who will use their AI. Oh, hang on. I see Nicholas. Awesome. Nicholas, is this everything that your AI drafted for you? Where is Nicholas?
More or less, yeah.
Okay. Hello. I can tell when it's a little bit. So the more memory it is, it also starts picking up your style and your voice as well. So it will start having a lot more of your own meaning and style.
Yeah, let me just say, like, you're all adding two sentences maybe, right? Then using the AI, and it's using the data from those two sentences. In my AI, which I've been building for a little bit now, I think I have like 6,000 paragraphs basically. So like 15, 20,000 sentences. So you can imagine kind of in the long run, the AI just knows what you know. It talks like you, it thinks like you.
Yep.
And how do you populate, Jonathan, how do you populate it? What's your style to make it those 6,000? Because it seems like for some people, I need to work. So how do you populate in an efficient manner?
For me, I do a lot of Zoom, so all of those are transcribed, and then they automatically feed into my AI without me touching anything. because I'm like talking all day, 6 a.m. to, midnight, basically.
Right.
And all of that's like feeding in all of my emails, all of my work product.
Okay, but how do you
but-
get it to feed in? That's with a bot that you feed it in, or
Yeah, that's a
you
little more complex, but I mean, you can copy and paste text.
you can
instead.
copy and paste text. So even in the sense of when Zoom does the summary,
Yeah,
you can just
exactly.
copy and text that summary.
Exactly. Let's say I had a textbook, if I was still a student, I can drop that in. I could drop in a PDF, like a massive file, right? I can drop in notes. I could drop in projects. There's look where Sumon's typing right now. That little upload thing to the bottom left. You can
Where?
drop in URLs, YouTube
Where?
videos.
Okay.
Sumon, hover over it.
I can quickly go over it. So,
Yeah.
well, the basic concept is out, right? Like, which is memory in, and then you get the data out.
Right.
You can essentially, add memory of any communications that you have in chats and lounges, or you can specifically go to your AI and then put a whole bunch of different information, your autobiography, your past conversations, your knowledge, anything that you want your AI to be trained on. You can also upload files. You can upload links. You can, connect your like Google Drive folders and automatically sync things. You can use techniques such as like Zapier and automatically get information in. So the possibilities are endless, and there is API access as well for people to push the memory continuously in to train the model.
I think that's important to emphasize, because just typing all day long, Jonathan, you wouldn't, again, it's not efficient, but the idea that you're already having voice to text. So just have that info, or the idea of putting, and are you limited in the size of the files that I put in right now?
50,000 words. 50,000. It's pretty big. It's a lot. I mean, you could always break them up. We have people, we have like big social media people and authors and whatnot who upload books and like all of their posts and everything. Yeah.
And for their posts and things you create, or other people create like those connections where that can be automatically, when I post it, automatically go to my personal AI.
You can do that. Yeah, it's a little bit more technical.
Yeah, but you're working on some of that.
Working on Slack, Telegram, Discord, iMessage.
Okay, because that's awesome. When that's what people are looking for, they don't want to be cutting and pasting. But in the beginning, you have to go. You can go so much, and then I guess you can see what people are interested in, because the population is the idea, that way that it could really train you on so many aspects of your life is incredible.
Yeah, totally.
Okay,
I think it's the imagination is up to the people. A lot of people just take all their first person authored data to represent who they are. There's always gaps, because in social media, we're probably just sharing, specific things. So we do have like these training templates that we provide to people to be able to do that. So before I move further, which will be more about some best practices around the training itself, give me a thumbs up if the basics are understood, because everything else you can build on top of it. It's about getting the memory in. I understand how to use the prompts, instructions, chats is understood. Pretty straightforward. Yeah. Okay, so let's move ahead. This is more about what you can train on. So I will just flash through real quickly, and I will make the presentation also available.
So we'll have the presentation available, and we also have it as a recording, plus you'll make the slides available to us as well. So that'll be perfect.
Right. Right. So to train, you can think about all the different things. If you have information already in some other places, should copy paste easy. If you have documents, upload easy. But think about surrounding yourself with all the different questions that you may get. That's our first goal, right? Being able to have other people interview us and give us a job, right? That's the first goal. So where did you go up? Favorite things. What some personal details will be interesting as well. And describing your typical day, what your profession is, like your job titles, your responsibilities, your background. You can articulate your specific goals, like especially if you are looking for, for example, I need travel. I want to travel around, and do they have any travel opportunities, within the training, what do you call, within the job. I think that's also an interesting one. Share your interests, reveal your communication style. So these are all the different techniques that you can think through. One tip is you can always like generate interview questions on a specific topics and then use the questions to train your AI. Right? So that's also a good technique. Yeah, so I think the goal in 4 weeks is basically train your own AI so that we can interview you. And then or if you want to build something else, it's also open. So any questions, any ideas that you have right now? I think we can use some time for that.
You can unmic yourself if you have a question. So what I see this as an assignment, and students, we already have groups. Students can work in the group. Each person in their group creates their personal AI. And basically we'll have, if we have 4 in a group, 3 people could be the interviewers and 1 person could be the interviewee, or they could do it 2 and 2. And what I see would be nice is to record it. Record that session and you can see how it improved. You could even record it twice. You know, if we said, okay, we'll start it now. We'll start it for the beginning. You could even start now. And then in 2 weeks, you could see how well it was doing. And then even in another week to see how it improved and how more memories. You could see your personal score, play around with it. I think it's interesting. Plus, I like the recording that you can then even post it and show it to a possible job interview who has actually created and trained a AI, who's created something. Everybody can, no big deal to say, oh, I use ChatGPT. What have you done? You've put a sentence in there, but actually trained it with your own data, plus used it almost for interviews and say, try it out. I think it's awesome.
Questions? Any questions?
So what do you think, Abby?
I think it's really interesting to see how we can use AI and like seeing how much it can do.
Yeah, how you can train it with and you can see whether it's accurate or not, because who knows yourself better than yourself, Abby, right? And then when you're improving it, when ChatGPT gives you a question, an answer, how do you even know if it's right unless you ask it a question that you already know? You sound like a prosecutor, right? On trial, don't ask a question that you don't know the answer to. Okay, so where do we go from here, Suman? Because we're running out of time to the end of our class time. First of all, we wish you really, I'm just so delighted that you guys we can share our way of reacting to your product, plus you're sharing with us what's happening. In the future, you're going to be doing voice. And are you also going to be doing something? I saw something about Eve. How is that related to your personal AI? You wanted to say
Eve is just another AI, right?
It's not personal.
It is personal AI. It is personal
Okay.
AI, but it is pretty much has all the memory about how to use personal AI in itself. Where do we go from here? I mean, I think the opportunities endless. This is basically a platform to train your own model. So if you do want to train the model for job interviews, like that's the first goal, obviously. But if everybody, I believe, gets a premium subscription as well, I know not every, I believe, but I know that's the goal in here.
Right.
So if you do want to train a model for a specific purpose, even that purpose is representing, yourself, please feel free to do so and get creative, build businesses, because eventually each and every one of us will not only have our own models, but every other business will be having their own models as well. So it's time to build.
So when will our students, they'll get an email on it that they're upgraded? How will they know about that?
It's happening now. So
Oh, wow.
We'll let you know. Yeah.
I mean, first of all, thank you so much. I really appreciate your generosity of it, and we'd like to give back to you. I see it as a relationship. You understand, Suman and Jonathan? It's not a one way, give us something, but what can we give back to you?
Right.
I see this as a possibility that they do that with other supplements. It used to be when they did, like in finance, they used to use like self-finance problems. They used to sell it as a supplement. There was like basically almost like a booklet talking about software where the professor didn't, it was almost like self-running. I almost see it that you could provide in instructions with a number of small cases, like how to do an interview, some others, you could present it, plus students would buy that portion, plus get a premium upgrade, let's say for 2 months or for the, half the semester or something like that. You can now, and then this way you could get into the universities for education and educate them about what is the differences with, personal AI. So I think that is a possibility as well.
Totally. And by the way, I can drop my AI as well in the lounge. So when you create your own lounges, you can create communities and invite friends and family and whatever the purpose is, and have your AI speak in a group setting as well. I just enabled it if you want to try it. But that's a cool way to use, your own AIs in a community setting.
So it can be, so you could actually use it as also as with group work.
Exactly.
That's what I see it as. It really could basically use some of these. And what I see too is we're just now formalizing our group projects, and I could see students that wanted not only this is going to be a required assignment just to do the interviewing, but they could even incorporate this into their final projects as well, and go into more detail and even explain to people what it is.
Yeah.
As being they could be almost consultants of AI tools.
Yeah, totally.
And use your product as one of the as one product that's out there, and how does it differ, almost explaining when is this useful versus something like a ChatGPT or more of the more specialized AI programs, because that's what everybody's overwhelmed with. They wouldn't even know, I have a problem, what should I use? And
I mean, it's a platform where you can get like really creative. So this is not just about like using AI as much as it's about building your AI, right? Building your model. You can
building the models, and it's specific models that I can answer.
Specific model. I mean, even if you have existing businesses, well, how can you train on your business and incorporate in your daily life? So it's about creation. It's the YouTube of Web 3, or AI, if you will.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much.
Cool.
And Jonathan, thank you so much for coming out and helping with all of the issues that we had in class. And I think it's for the first time the students even just doing this assignment and recording it, they're way ahead of the other competitors. The students have never even training. Most people in the world here, they're all either they're just not even knowing what to do with all of this new tech. And is it a fad? And I'm scared that they're going to use my data. And some companies you heard just say no AI. You remember that one? And that's good. That's not going to happen. And okay, thank you.
Any other final questions before we ramp up?
Anything else?
Cool. Okay, awesome. Sounds good.
Thank you.
That launch will be open, so please let me know any questions, and you have direct access to me as well. So if you have any questions over there,
right, or your AI, we have direct access to your.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Okay. Bye.
Thanks. And then we have Suman's personal AI here. Great. So any questions? So I don't need to take attendance today, because guess what? We have attendance in the lounge, right, Luca? Everybody has registered in the lounge. I put what's due on your section, and what I think to do and let me know is I may have additional office hours on Friday if somebody wants to talk about their projects. And we've already, I've already posted the Wix slides. I could suggest already, I have the Rubik's and also what you need to be able to start doing, and try to take your final project, your final proposals, and start creating even on your website. Try to create a homepage to think about what is your problem that you're trying to solve. Think about even creating a page with your team and what are their subjects. Require you to start doing social media, assign someone or a couple of people on different social media, start posting it. And then think about it to see, do you want this personal AI? Do you see these personal AI being able to incorporate in your final project? On Monday, I'll give you an exact assignment for the personal AI. It'll be basically based on training your AI to be in an interview situation, that your personal AI, somebody, and you can role play that. You can record it with Loom or even with Zoom or any of your screen recording and upload it. So we'll discuss that on Monday. And what do you think? Do you think I should what was your impression? Or should we not even bother with any of these? I thought it was interesting. At least you could kind of see if we should invite them back to show some of the things that they've done before. Let me know what you think. If you think I should invite Suman and the others to give us more in the directions of what they're doing in advance. He was showing me that basically you can take your own voice and basically train it, and then not only via text, via voice, your personal AI can start speaking. Let's see how you can play around with it. Okay, Michaela, what did you think?
I thought it was very interesting and informative. It was a good experience, I think.
Yeah, and it's something already you got some experience on where it's going. Whether, right now he's in the beginning stages. He was successful in one startup, starting on another one, having that background with, robotics. In the previous class, what was interesting, Michaela, is they had some problems with the server. I think they fixed that a bit. I think they weren't used to 40 people coming because it's a small model. They had 40 people banging on the server, and it seemed like it went out for about 10 minutes. So it was interesting. I think they got some feedback as well from us, and just basically you got to think about, I think, where you would use that, where would that fit? But you see that idea. Remember how we were going in class about that language model, and they're basically using a small language model, so they can just he basically can start up with less work. And then notice, even he said AI generate, he could AI generate with his model, plus he could AI generate with ChatGPT. And that ChatGPT, what it does, it creates what we call an API. You remember when I talked about it, that application program interface? It's just like a hook to his program. So he's not regenerating ChatGPT, he's just using their model to do the ChatGPT, seeing the differences there. And then it's basically a way in which you can add your own data and your own information that it may not be getting ChatGPT, and you have some control over it. It's not clear really with your data. He's saying you own that data. I don't know. He's getting our data really too. Do you understand, Michaela? Even though they're stating they have it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like he's not giving the full picture on.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And that's what we have to learn, to be critical. You know what I'm saying? I have no vested interest. I just ran across this, Michaela, and I want to make clear that's what we need to be, is learning what's behind the scenes? Where is he really going with this? You know what I mean? What's happening? But it's an interesting model that you can already start where you couldn't do it before, Michaela, is start training. And then what I like about it, Michaela, is that you can see whether it's accurate or not when it's generating it. And you can make it private. You don't have to make it public. And you can share who you want to share it with, but it's the beginning of where you think it's going. That's what I wanted to expose you to it, you know. And in the back end, you know, they write it in Python and some other ways. And you know, they may exit and someone else may bring it. I think they should incorporate some voice to it, you know, and have it be able to, you know, do some chatting and things like that between, you know, one another, you know, or it doesn't seem to be, you know, there are other rings like PI is more in mental health, you know, it is mental health. This is not really conversing with you. It's just putting out a data for you, you know what I mean? It's not going to give you advice type of thing with, you know, I'm feeling stressed, what should I do? Or I'm having a problem with this, you know, I'm not sure, you know, or even a way to vent, you know, types of things, something like a pine. So remind me, what are you doing for your project?